All right, so this is a really good tutorial because it allows us to play around with motion paths and some of the nuances when you're working with shapes and objects on screen. So in this particular case, the community question was, how do I get a shape? We'll say this shape here. I want it to speed onto the screen, but when it gets here, I want it to slow down, and then I want it to speed up again. So it's, I think it was light passing through matter or gravity or something. I can't remember what it was, but the point is we want it fast, slow, fast. So let's go ahead and see how it works, and then I'll show you how I built it. So you can see it came in fast, now it's going really slow, and then as soon as it's done, it's going to exit and go fast again. All right, so let's look at how we can build this. I'm going to just start with a new slide, and we'll just build this from scratch here. Oops. And make sure I click on the slides here. All right, so we need something to pass through. Let's just go ahead and create a shape, and we'll just this will be our shape here. It has to pass through this here, and let's go ahead and create our other shape, and we'll just grab an oval or circle. It's going to come through. Once we get to this point, we want it to slow down, then we go through. All right. So let's just let's make our oval white. So we're just going to format it, or we'll make it green so it just stands out. All right. So first thing we need to do is put a motion path on here. Now a few things to think about with motion paths. We'll create that. So let's select the object, do animations. We're going to do a motion path, and we can just drag this into place here. Oops. Grab the end point. So a motion path is going to have a start point and an end point. So just grab the end point, and we're going to have it just come right up to the border. So this motion path is going to go from here to here. The path has some options to it, which you can see here in your path options. One of them is the easing in and out. So basically what happens is it's going to ease into the animation. So it kind of creates a smoother animation, so it doesn't just start and stop. It's going to ease in, so it's going to slowly speed up, and then it's going to take off, and then it's going to slow down. In this case, I don't want the easing, so I'm going to turn off the easing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn off the easing. And you could put it on there for effect if you want to, but I don't need that. So we're going to, we have our animation goes through. We want to change the speed of the animation. So right now you can see it takes 2 seconds. We're just going to have it take 0.5 seconds, right? And oops, I clicked away. So it's half a second, and we're going to name the path, and we'll call this our fast path. So when you create a motion path, it's going to start on the automatically. So Storyline doesn't know when to start it, so it's just going to start automatically when the timeline of the slide starts, which is probably fine for this demo. So we're going to have it start, and it's going to come to this point, and then we want it to slow down. Well, we really don't have a way to slow it down without adding a second motion path. So let's go ahead and add a second motion path. So I'm just select the object again, and I'm going to add another path. We'll do a line, and then the same thing. We're going to snap it in here. Now the problem is we need to know how long this motion path needs to be. So I'm just going to leave it here for a second. So a couple things we want to think about. This first path is going to go at a certain speed, and then when it gets here, we want it to actually change to this path, which is going to go this way, and then we want to pick up the fast path again. So let's do a couple things. Let's name this path here. So let's go to the second path here. We're going to name this slow, just so we know which paths we're looking at. So that's slow. And this one took half a second. So let's make this one last 3 seconds. So it's going to take 3 seconds to go through this space, and then we want it to pick up. Now when you have a motion path, it's going to take off. We want it to pick up at the same point that it's ending, so we need to make it a relative motion path. So we want this path here, the second path. If we go to path options, let's go ahead and turn off the easing, and then let's also change the path options here to relative start point. So that means it's going to pick up where this one ended. Now the other thing we need to do then, if it picks up from here to here, we need to know what the distance is. And this is kind of a nice simple trick. And this again is those nuances in production. So if I click on this object, I can see that it's 250 pixels wide, right? I can see that right here. So I'm just going to select this motion path and I'm going to make it 250 pixels. So we just put it on here so it's lined up. Let's just make it 250 pixels. So what's going to happen is this is going to run on motion path 1 first. Now we need it to run on motion path 2 when this animation is complete. So let's look at our triggers. So the first trigger is going to start that oval on the fast path when the timeline starts. The second trigger, we want to start the oval on the slow path. Let's open up the wizard. We want to start the oval on the slow path when the animation completes. Which animation? The animation of the oval on the fast path. We hit OK, and then it's going to, it should go here, and then it's going to pick it up at a relative start point and come here. So let's see how this works if we preview the slide. And you can see that it did that, and then it stopped. Now we need it to pick up again. So I'm going to do it with an error. So, and then we'll fix it. So what we're going to do now is we just need this to go on the fast path again. So we don't need to create a third path. We can just use the fast path. So let's go ahead and duplicate this one. So we're going to duplicate the trigger. We're going to paste it. Let's go ahead and open it up. What do I want to do? I want to move oval 1 on fast path when animation completes oval 1 on the slow path. And there's going to be an issue here, but that's okay because I want to show you that so we can fix it. So it's going to go, and then it's going to take off, and it should take off from here, but it doesn't. It's taking off from here. And the reason is we don't have it set to relative path. So let's go ahead and have this set, the long one here, the fast path. Let's go ahead and change the path options to relative start point. So again, the relative start point means instead of starting here, it's going to start where it ended. So if this goes to here, the next time it's going to start here if it's on a relative start point. So now this should all work. So let's see. It's going to come through, slow down, and then speed up. So pretty cool. A couple of neat things about that is learning to work with the motion paths and the animations and some of the options that you have for the path. And also, you know, these shortcuts like finding out these, the lengths are, and then being able to manually type those in. Let's try one other thing. Let's see what happens if we go to this slow path, which is on top here. We're going to take the slow path, and let's see what happens and how the easing looks. So we're going to have it ease in and out. So it should slow into the animation and then speed up to go out of it. That might look a little bit more interesting. All right. Yeah, so that's what the easing kind of stops it, right? Because it has to kind of come from a slow point, from a end point, and speed up to the animation, and then has to slow down, and then it completes the animation. So in this case, the easing really doesn't work for us. So let's go ahead and turn that easing back off, and we'll turn that off. So that's where you can play around with some of those things. Hopefully this helps and something you can use somewhere in a course.